Hello and welcome. You're watching Livestream, the one show where we want to take the big topic of the day right to your door. We are looking for your thoughts. We're looking for your suggestions and how you believe you can make a difference, change the India story. Today, it's World Environment Day, but not just one of the dozens and dozens of days that we observe, but a day where we need to sit up and take note. Take note of all the damage that we have done to the planet on World Environment Day. The focus this year has been plastic, and that of course is a very dramatic National Geographic cover on just what plastic is doing and why. Let me put that in context for you. 8 million tons of plastic is making its way to the world's oceans every year. 90% of it or more cannot be degraded, it cannot be broken down by the natural processes of the earth. Take a look at wildlife. Take a look at that tiger and what it has in its mouth. Three of them, of course, just die as a result of all of that. Just yesterday in Thailand, we saw those heartbreaking images of that whale who died. There were 8 plastic bags found in its stomach. No wildlife, of course, has been spared. Just think about wildlife, and that is the big issue. So we're going to sort of be looking at all of that. We're going to be speaking to someone very young and someone who is really proving what the Power of One is all about and how each one of us can make the difference. But before that, let me introduce our special guest on the program, Aditya Mirza. Aditya Mirza, of course, is a UN ambassador, has spoken very strongly in the past about what we can do for our environment. We've all seen her videos there on the change that bring in. Dia, I spoke to her earlier, of course, and began by asking her about, World Environment Day, and the big question in India that many are asking year after year is that, are we sensitive enough? Are we informed enough? Do we finally realize that we are losing time, but hopefully we won't lose the battle?
Thank you, Natasha, for that warm introduction. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak with you. Okay, I want to talk about 2 things that are connected to what you've just asked me. One is that I think there is a shift in consciousness, and one can witness that in the public, the people's participation in our endeavor to beat plastic pollution, which is the theme of World Environment Day. I have been meeting some extraordinary individuals that I hope we can talk about later, who have inspired me. I think what is becoming more and more apparent is that civil society is demanding that government, industry, and people at large put planet first, people second, and profit third. And these are the 3 P's that we really hope will define economies and is pretty much what will help us achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The great thing is that with the kind of mobilization I have witnessed in the last few weeks leading up to World Environment Day from government and policymakers has also been very, very encouraging. I think there is a definite shift in the way people perceive environmentalism, from being obstructive to being productive, and I think more and more people are seeing the umbilical link between ecology and economy, and understanding that if we cannot secure the health of the planet, we will not be able to secure the health of people, and of course unhealthy workforce can't possibly be very productive.
Absolutely, and that of course is encouraging, and planet over plastic, most certainly, as you're saying, over profit as well. Now, one big fallout that we're seeing is water, how we are thirsting for every drop. I mean, imagine tourists are being asked to avoid similar, be it Sonbhadra, be it Ajmer, Delhi, Bengaluru, named city, and it has its own water problem. Do you believe that is one of the biggest challenges that we are facing?
Yes. Okay, so there is a statistic that I share with children when we do workshops with them, and I say, India occupies 2.37% of the geographical landmass of the world, which is a very small space, and we have the world's 2nd largest population that inhabits this landmass. And in context to that, we just have about 20% forest cover, and forests are the birthing grounds for our rivers. and less than 5% of that is dense forest. Now, this statistic puts in perspective for young students across the country how important and urgent it is for us to secure our natural resources, and of course also work towards developing economies and industries that do not harm the environment anymore. Water, of course, is at the forefront of this issue, because with climate change there is the frequency and the intensity of drought, of flood, of many of these natural calamities that we are having to deal with exist. And like you point out, of the case of Shimla, there are many other cities that are going to be grappling with scarcity of water. Bengaluru is second on that list, and I'm told that there are many others to follow. And well, we've just heard about what Cape Town has gone through. So I think these are situations and conditions that should compel and urge more government participation and more proactive approach to secure our natural resources, and ensure that each one of us can follow the 3 R's and add one more to the R, which is refuse. So reduce, recycle, and also refuse.
Okay, great. Last question before we let you go. What do you believe is the role that our youth can play in all of this?
Oh my God, they're the most powerful constituency in the world. I was addressing, bureaucrats and policymakers in government in a summit yesterday, and I spoke about how there were 2 very powerful constituencies in the world, one of children and the other of women, and mothers in particular, who are demanding for better environmental protection. And it's extraordinary to see. I met a young boy, 14-year-old boy from Shriram School, Aditya, who has been campaigning to refuse single-use plastics, and in particular plastic straws. And it's extraordinary what this young man has achieved. And while he was speaking about his campaign and his achievements through his campaign, he spoke about EPR, end producer's responsibility. And I told him that I actually haven't heard a single politician talk about EPR. And here was a 14-year-old young boy speaking about EPR. It was fantastic.
Okay, thanks very much. And it's great leaving us with mention of Aditya, because I'm delighted to say that Aditya is here with us in the studio. Thanks very much for taking our time. I can imagine that it's been quite a busy run-up for you, Aditya. For the benefit of our viewers, let me just introduce Aditya in case you're wondering what he's doing with us. He's 14 years old, and he has just led this campaign to phase out plastic straws. In fact, I've just been corrected. It's 1 million plastic straws that you've phased out. And again, I just want to run those graphics on how Aditya has managed to do what he has. But correct me if I'm wrong. What I've understood is that you've gone from restaurant to restaurant, a whole host of restaurants, among the topmost that we have in the Delhi NCR region, and you have managed to convince them to do away with plastic straws. I mean, first I want to say, wow. And then I want to say, how did you go about this?
So I appeal to these hospitality institutions, as they're one of the major contributors to plastic pollution, as they're the people who are pushing these plastic straws and plastic straws especially to the customers. And most of them were ready to change, and they just require the names of suppliers, which I provided to them. I'm not in business, hence I made no financial connection with anyone. The organizations made their own negotiations with the suppliers of their choosing.
Okay, so I have a caller and I want to go to her. But Aditya, I want to just ask you, how did it come to this? I mean, I'm told that there was you said a sort of a traumatic image that has stayed with you.
Yes, I saw a video of 2 vets trying to pull a plastic straw out of a turtle's nose. It was a gruesome video, and the pain of the turtle inspired me to seriously think about doing something to make a difference, so that we can try and save the environment, especially save these creatures who are not at fault. We humans produce these plastics, and they have to suffer because of that.
So you saw that one image of that straw being pulled out.
One video.
And you saw that video, and it stayed with you enough and spurred you into action. I mean,
yes.
At that moment, I want to say double wow. I mean, what we need is sort of just more people like you. I'm told that we've got our first caller of the evening. Kashmira, hi, I spoke to you yesterday as well. You're becoming, we're delighted to know that you're becoming a frequent caller. You're calling all the way from Bahrain. Kashmira, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. My question for today is, even the disposal of plastics in India, the result of lenient or no imposition of fine, because Malaysia has announced a nationwide ban on plastics, which they hope to achieve within a year. So even the leniency on the part of the Indian government a reason for the disposal of heavy plastics?
It is a good point, and in fact, we thought today that Tamil Nadu was going to be one state that was going to ban plastics, but they've only banned plastic in some forms. But I think that brings me to something that I want to ask you. It's a crackdown on straws, for instance, for you now. How will this evolve? What next? Will you stop at straws, for instance?
No, in saving the environment, you can't stop at only one type of pollutant. You have to expand your base. So I'm going to expand to plastic. Plastic bottles. I'm already helping certain restaurants to convert from takeaway boxes. Major use also of takeaway boxes. Then plastic stirrers, going to wooden stirrers, and many other forms of plastic, single-use plastic pollution.
And it's single-use plastic.
Single-use plastic is something that really affects. Like phone covers are multiple use. Debit card, credit card, again multiple use. But we are targeting only the single-use plastics.
And when you went about to these restaurants, sorry, but it's really a fascinating story. I can't have enough. But you know, when you went about from restaurant to restaurant, what was the response like? Because I mean, these are practices that have been there, and nobody's given it a second thought. So was there resistance? I mean, especially coming from, no offense, but coming from somebody as young as you?
Yes, my experience was mixed, but more positive than negative on the whole. Many establishments, like I said, readily agreed, but they don't know where to source the alternatives from, and hence had to just supply them with the names of alternative manufacturers with whom I had no financial connection.
Sure, of course. Okay. That makes sense, and that is heartening to know, because when someone like Aditya is going around and asking them to change something that they've been doing, like I said, never given it a second thought, then they are doing this and doing this willingly. That is reassuring. But this is Babu Rao calling us from Hyderabad. Thanks, Mr. Rao, for your time. You want to make a point?
Yes, I want to make a point, small and simple thing, ma'am. The thing is, we are all talking about not to use the harmful plastic. Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Yeah. The main and I want to convey this to the policymakers and politicians. Why can't they ban this manufacturing of harmful plastic? Why they are giving permission to these industries? The simple thing.
I do. I take your point, and again, you know, this is good that we are talking about this, but it could also be argued that as consumers, we can also step back and say, we're not going to use these products. I mean, I think, you know, as they, you know, always say, if the buying stops, then the selling will stop as well. Perhaps that's one way to answer it. I'm going to be taking a break, but before that, I just want to play those images again for you. Before we do that, on how wildlife has been affected, all those, you know, who are in and calling us to say that they are going to be doing their bit and taking the pledge there. We've seen that image, the National Geographic image there of that iceberg. Take a look at tiger there. These are the kind of images that really should haunt us, and the damage that we are doing. Aditya, I know that I've got to let you go, but I do have one last question for you, and which is this, you know, to all those who ask how somebody who's just 14 years old and has, you know, so many distractions and so much on his mind manages to do all of this. What would your response be? Because you're very proud parents for telling me that your academics have certainly not suffered.
Yes, I've not let my academics suffer. I just stopped goofing off. Like, so I've started focusing more on my academics, where instead of taking 4 hours to do a chapter, I take 2 hours, I reduce it by half the time and employ that time in trying to save the environment by doing this anti-plastic straw campaign.
Okay. Great. More power to you, and thank you so much for joining us. And what we need is for more people like you. Young would be great, but anyone really to come forward and do their bit. I mean, before I go, I'm told that we have another caller. I'll just see if we can speak to her. This is Asia from Chennai. Asia, thanks for calling in. You want to make a point?
Yes, Natasha. Good evening to you and to Aditya. And thank you so much for having me as part of the discussion. We all know that plastics are really harmful. So what I was looking for is a good option that we can have instead of plastics, because even things like Bisleri and drinking water is packaged in plastic, which is so ironical because it's meant to be good for our health, but at the same time being packaged in plastic, which is so harmful. So if we have good options, then maybe we could switch over to something like that, which is practical and at the same time, not harmful. So
okay, thanks for that. Just quickly, I know, thank you, but just very quickly, asking for options. I mean, when you come to straws, you said that there are, you have already named some options.
The paper straws are the main option to switch from plastic straws. Instead of using plastic bottles, we can, if you go to a restaurant or something, we can just ask for their normal RO water. Otherwise, it should be the government.
Carry your own metal bottle.
Carry your own metal bottle, and it should be the government's responsibility to provide its citizens clean drinking water, so that we don't have to go and buy packaged plastic bottles.
That clean water, and again, coming back to water and clean water, and just what a big challenge that's going to be. Aditya, thanks so much for your time, and like I said, just incredible job there. We're slipping into a quick break. Back in a moment with lots more. Welcome back. Well, it is World Environment Day. The focus is plastic. Delighted, of course, to have brought you the story of that young boy heard from Mirza, and all our viewers calling in to say that they believe that plastics do a lot of harm. Remember, you can step back and make a difference in your own way. When you stop the buying, the selling, of course, will stop too. But what we need are alternatives. Well, here's one of our viewers and his thoughts on it.
Plastic, the most friendly invention, has today become our biggest headache. It takes centuries for the plastic to get dissolved, and we are so addicted to it that someone has to control it. This cannot be done voluntarily, because in our country nothing happens voluntarily. Somebody has to enforce it. If Modi ji can have demonetization, he can just announce it in the evening and then it starts. Why can't he just lay a date that from such and such date plastic will not be used for normal packing in the markets? And slowly it should be phased out even from chips and other packets, whatever we sell, so that we get used to the normal thing and save our environment. Just remember, 50 years back, there was no plastic at all and we still survived. Why are we being made hostage to the plastic and the plastic industry and ruining our environment? We need a change, and we need it very, very urgently.
That's someone who's seen then and now, and that's clearly quite a thought there perhaps for the government, the next shock that the country could perhaps do well with. Well, that's it then. It's a wrap on the program. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye, good night.